live. I'm just checking on my PC to find out. Let's mute myself because I don't want you guys to hear some sort of an infinite loop. Cool, looks like we are. Let's close this before I get stuck in an infinite loop. How's it going, everyone? It's been a while, hasn't it? Oh, where do I start today? There has been a lot going on since my last stream. In fact, I don't actually remember when my last stream was. I think it might have been before the big earnings period started. I've been away like several weekends in a row, including the Friday. So I haven't really been around to stream, and there's just been a lot going on, to be honest. So that's why I've not been streaming too much. It is going down, minus 38%. What's going down? Oh, square. Yeah, I have been very cautious with my square positions. I know it doesn't look like it with it open here, but I have reduced my exposure substantially and been taking profit and actively trading it a bit over the past week. So let's hold on. Let me read the chat first before I kind of answer all of you guys. And actually, let's just make sure that this did actually post. It did. What? Confused. You appear to be staring at my screen, Jesse.
I was trying to see if you were dropping frames. You're not. We're getting like micro pauses. You know, where like the screen stops and then it just jumps forward like half a second, if that.
Really? Jesse said that the stream is slightly laggy. What do you guys? Let me know if you guys see anything, because Huh? Okay. Let's continue reading. Anyway, I'm kind of intrigued as to what this is, but I'm going to ignore that for now. When does the stream start? Yeah, it has now started. We can talk about Amazon if you guys want to talk about Amazon. Someone's shorting it. I actually just opened a very small position in it today, but I don't know. It was honestly, it wasn't a really deeply thought through trade. So maybe I'll have to dig into Amazon a bit more. I'm a bit on the fence about them, to be honest. But I was on the fence about them like 2 months ago, and 2 months ago they were like 1,800 or something. So obviously they've gone up quite a bit since then. AMD is a good one to talk about. I've been doing a lot of trading on AMD. I'm actually really happy for the most part with my trades on AMD. The one that's today, where I've kind of rebought back into the position, so you can see I'm back up to $2,000 invested, at an average price of like 25.19, which isn't great, but it's okay. Yeah, I'm still on the fence. I still think it should, in theory, be going back down to like 22-ish, but I'm not convinced that I'm willing to risk shorting it, because I just think that there's a chance it might not, to be honest, especially with like the upgrades and stuff. And we've seen how AMD really likes to stay in quite tight ranges in the past. So I'm a bit cautious on AMD in terms of trying to make some money out of the drop. I do think it should drop a bit further though. I don't have many funds available. Yeah, no, it's not a huge amount, but it is an amount. It's it's like 7% or something of my portfolio is available at the moment. It's not too bad. Generally, I try and make sure that I'm at like 10. But I'm not a trader that keeps a lot of available balance. I generally try and keep it at around 10. If it gets to 20, then that's pretty rare that I ever let it get that high. Sometimes I do, but it's pretty rare. Let's see. Internet is bad where I am. Starts to have little freezes. Is it the right time to buy gold right now? personally, I don't think it's going to be the right time to buy gold potentially ever again. Really, if you're looking for a good profit, I just don't see it as a good store of value anymore. To be honest, there have been a lot of people that have like suspected that it's like a manipulated market and stuff for a really long time. I know it's uncorrelated to a lot of stuff, but I just don't see why you would ever choose gold over a crypto. To be honest, I really don't. Like it's, I just, yeah, I just don't see the point. To be honest, um, the way I look at it is that if crypto delivers on what I think it would deliver, then the gold market is just going to crumble in terms of its overall market size because there's just no need. Why would you store value in something that's really hard to like actually know that you own when you can use cryptocurrency instead? Like it's not that I have anything against gold. Gold's been brilliant, and I traded it a decent amount back in like 2010, 2011 kind of time. But I don't think it's really got much of a purpose anymore as a store of value. Like traders generally use it as like a safe haven, but I don't see why I'd use that instead of crypto because the chances of making money are so much higher in crypto, and like the long term trend for gold has got to be down because it's valued entirely on speculation for the most part. Like it's not valued at all on its actual utility. So, and it's not as useful as cryptos are at the end of the day. I don't think. I'm sure there's a lot of people that would be really angry and disagree with that. You know what? I was on Team Tom for a while about the incoming market crash. I was very very cautious in like February kind of time, but it hurt my portfolio a lot. And so I kind of changed my position on it, changed my stance, and was like, you know what? I'm just going to try and catch it when it happens rather than try and start hedging now because the like you can only really hold those positions open for a certain amount of time before it just becomes a massive, massive risk. And like a massive drain of potentially realizing those losses. I think like the market crash, people have been talking about this market crashing like for 2 years now, and I think there's still potentially another 2 years until it does. I did really think we were close to it back in January, and I do think that there's a lot of like frothiness going on in the markets. And like if you look at even I've talked before about like catalysts that they set these kind of things off. And I actually did a post about Cyprus, kind of explaining some of my thoughts on it, on what was going on there. But like you look at Cyprus, you look at Venezuela, you look at Argentina with what's just happened as well. Like there's a lot of currencies in trouble right now. The Chinese markets are still pretty shaky. There's a lot of people who think that it's basically built on eggshells effectively. So that could crumble at any minute. There's a lot of stuff out there that's pretty worrying and concerning. But at the same time, um, the market has just shrugged that off for the past 2 years. Like none of that's really new as such. Like the currency stuff is new, but the market has, for the most part, just shrugged it all off. So we'll see, I guess, is the answer to that. We'll see. I do think that Tom is a great trader, though, and I actually think that he is providing something really, really useful to people who are copying a lot of traders and not really trading so much themselves, because you can basically use him as your hedge. And if me and everyone else gets caught out by this crash when it happens, I say when, not if, then hopefully he can help ameliorate some of the losses, to use a word that Jesse likes. He put his thumb up at that. He loves that word. He's a very wordy person, is Jesse. Yeah, I mean, I don't think the impeachment is that likely at this point either. To be honest, I feel like if it was going to happen, it was going to happen pretty quickly. It still surprises me that it hasn't, but I don't think at this point it's likely to. To be honest. But Jay, it's shiny. You are right. Gold is shiny. Well, just buy a little bit. Just like have a little bit of shiny gold. Or if you want to be really cool, buy some old school Bitcoin Consensus coins. that are made of gold or silver. Those are really, really cool. I really regret not buying one now back in the day because those were so cool. Like a solid gold coin that like inside it's got like the value of a Bitcoin and stuff. And you can buy like a 1 Bitcoin coin that's made out of gold. So you have the value of the gold and the value of the Bitcoin. It's really, really cool. They were like collectibles, but that was like the early days of crypto, like 2012, 2013 was when everyone was buying those. And I had the opportunity, but I was like, no, that sounds like a waste of money. I don't even know if this thing's going to survive. Why would I do that? Oh, look at where we are now, though. You can still buy them. Yeah. I'm still on the monster, as you can see. Last year, your portfolio went up by around 300%. What confuses me is that crypto went up by as much as 1,000%. Surely that shows that you don't actually trade that well. There's a few things to consider when talking about comparing me directly to, let's say, Bitcoin, for example. First of all, I am very limited as a popular investor in terms of risk in what I can have in my portfolio at one time. If I go 100% into Bitcoin, I'm not allowed to be a popular investor. It's also kind of pointless in a lot of ways, you know. If I just trade Bitcoin, people will be like, you know, they're less likely to want to copy me because they want more diversity, especially people that don't have much money. So people who are on eToro with $500 or something and can only afford to copy 2 people, it's important for them to have people that have diversified portfolios on their behalf. So that's the first thing. The second thing is the thing that's implied by that, which is because I can't own more than a certain amount, naturally I can't keep up with the performance of it when it's in a big bull run like that. So if Bitcoin goes up by, let's say, 1,000%, and I am only allowed a maximum of 50% of cryptocurrency in my portfolio, then in theory, for me to perform the same as it, even if I just held Bitcoin with 50% of my portfolio, I would own and held nothing else with the other 50%. I would only go up by 500%. So I'd only go up by half that amount because I've only got half the amount invested. So naturally, I can't compete with that. The third thing, of course, is spreads. eToro with cryptocurrencies is much more designed in terms of giving people easy access to HODL. They're more of a competitor to Coinbase than they are a competitor to Binance. So actually trying to trade cryptocurrencies on eToro is very difficult, especially like day trading. Day trading is extremely difficult because on things like IOTA, for example, you have spreads of 6%. So you've got to see the price go up or down by 6% before you even break even on a long or a short position. So that dramatically limits your opportunities to trade as well. Sorry about that. I realised I literally just coughed into the microphone when I could have just moved it. My bad. So that's the third thing, and I guess the final thing is that, well, there isn't really a final thing, to be honest. I mean, I guess that's it, really. It's like, you know, it's very difficult to trade. My goal in trading cryptos on eToro, as opposed to my normal portfolio, isn't to try and do better than Ethereum, for example, or better than any other crypto. It's to give you the same exposure that you would get by holding it, but with the reassurance of knowing that I'm constantly looking at the markets and constantly rebalancing based on what I think is likely to succeed or fail effectively. I'm giving you exposure to crypto overall rather than just one crypto or 2 cryptos, and I'm trying to make sure that I'm picking the winners and the ones that have got a really sound footing, sound fundamentals, basically. So I guess that's my explanation of that. Like, I'd genuinely like to hear your response to it and see if you think that's a fair statement or not. But thanks for the question anyway, even if you do not. Hopefully you stayed to listen to it, because otherwise I've just you know, not really done much with that. Market shrugged off the mortgage default. rate and bonds continue to go up in value. Gold will also weaken against the strengthening US dollar. It can't strengthen forever. A lot of the reason that we've seen other countries really struggle recently is because of this like backwards mentality of effectively protectionism, like what Trump is doing. Even the UK is looking like it's going to be very guilty of it soon as well with Brexit, whereby we're focusing so much on fixing our own economies that we're hurting other economies in the rest of the world, and eventually that will come back and bite us really hard. Like we've seen how much the emerging markets have been affected by Cyprus, by Venezuela, by Argentina. Brazil is another country that's not in a super healthy state right now. There's like effectively we live in like the most connected markets that we've ever lived in, and you cannot just crash markets around the world and expect yours to be untouched as a result. Like there are so many things that connect them at this point that it's impossible to like untether yourself from the rest of the world. So eventually, Trump's tariffs and the UK with Brexit, and Canada's tariffs that they've been putting back on the US and all this kind of stuff, it's all eventually going to come back and bite everyone in the ass. I think. Do you like Jacob Rees-Mogg? No, I think he's a bit of a twat. And by a bit of a twat, I mean quite a lot of a twat. It's one thing I really like about being a professional trader, but on eToro as opposed to in some nice office somewhere, is when someone asks me a question like that, I can be like, nope, he's a twat. Instead of being like, giving some sort of politically correct answer. No, I think the guy is a fucking knob. That's basically it. I think he's greedy. I think he's self-interested. He doesn't care about the country. He's trying to pull the wool over people's eyes. He has no clue what he's doing, really. Honestly, I mean, he made most of his money by being born into it. So, yeah, the guy's a knob, and he's not qualified to be in the position he's in, let alone even higher, which he's trying to get to. Slight outburst there. Hope you're not conservative, Chris, if you're watching. There's a guy on Twitter and on eToro, obviously, called Chris, who is a conservative who follows me. And like we get on okay, but he must get very frustrated watching me because I just shit on his beliefs. For the most part. I mean, there are some things that conservatives do that are okay, but not many. In fact, it's pretty hard to think of any. Right. Let's see. EU market's falling more than 1% today. I certainly wouldn't copy you if you are overexposed to crypto. I mean, some people have asked me to stop trading crypto altogether. Some people have asked me to trade only crypto. Some people have asked me to trade, things that I have no idea about. People complain when I don't open a position in like Coca-Cola or something. Likewise, people complain that I'm happy to trade things like AMD super actively, but not Qualcomm or or Cisco or other things that are kind of in that sort of industry so much. But it's because some things I actually care about and I know more about. How much do you think the statement of some traders' performance this year has actually worsened because of the added pressure to perform based on major increases of new members on the platform? I don't think. I think there are definitely some people that will be affected by that, but I think honestly, I think most people have performed badly because the markets were very unpredictable at the start of the year. The first 3 months were very, very unpredictable. No one knew if the market was going to collapse. No one knew if it was going to keep going. There was loads of stuff coming out around Trump, like just really unstable conditions for trading. So it was genuinely difficult, I think, for most traders at that period in time. specifically, whereas over the past few months it's kind of stabilized a bit more. In terms of like the effect from eToro, I think increasing numbers of popular investors is good, and I don't think that's driving people to take more risk or try like that much harder. I guess like I think everyone who's a popular investor for the most part is doing the best they can do. The copier numbers have actually been going down and kind of averaging down. Like there's a lot more people that are green stars now, but there's a lot less people with over like 5,000 copiers, for example. So like it's much more like evenly spread across the board. There's a lot of good upcoming PIs as well, and a lot more that are trading in different markets too, which is nice. So like if you looked a year ago, the top 10 traders were basically all trading crypto for the most part, whereas now it's very different, which is good. But I don't think it's adding that much pressure. As I said, some people will be more affected by it than others. I don't think it affects me too much. I think a lot of people got caught out by the crashes in January and February in both crypto and the stock markets, though, and they've been kind of trying to play catch up since then. And some people will be trying so hard that it's risky, and some people aren't. Simple as that, I think. Mr. Thor took a very big hit, but he picked a side. He very decisively picked a side. I mean, Wesley very decisively picked a side on things as well. Like, let's have a look at their profiles. Mr. Thor. Okay. So, very, very quickly, Tom picked a side back in February and was like, you know what, the market's going to crash. And he you can tell when he done it as well, because he basically did it during February. And then in March, he got burned heavily for doing that. And the reason he got burned heavily in March is because that's when it corrected. In April, the market took another hit. Like, I'll show you guys and compare it to the NASDAQ chart. Actually, let's do that now. Let's move you over here, and I'm going to move this down here. Do I have the NASDAQ open? Yes, I do. I need to hide this if I can remember. How do you hide this thing? Is it up here? No. No, where's the thing gone to hide this sidebar? Is that it? I think that's it. Yes, okay. So here's the NASDAQ. We don't need to be that zoomed out. We just need 2018. So we need not to be on a weekly chart. We need to be on like a daily chart. Should do it. Okay. Just getting it. So it's about right. Okay. So this is basically the start of the year back here. That's the 3rd of January, this first little green candle you can see down here. And you can see what happened is we ticked over into February, the markets went down, then they kind of went back up. And at this point around about here is when Mr. Thor took his decision, I think, when he was like, you know what, I'm against this. I don't think it's going to work. And so what happened is it rallied into March, and well, maybe he didn't. You know what, I'm confused now because this isn't at all syncing up how I thought it would. I don't know when he took his decision now. Because he should have made good profit here. Maybe he just didn't close the position. No, that wouldn't make sense either. Weird. Very weird. I don't know, to be honest. Like, if this chart would all like shift along a bit, then it would kind of make sense to me, because I would expect him to do really badly in March because that's when this drop happened. But this drop was in February, not in March. And then I would expect him to do well in April because this rally happened. And like, you know, he took his decision, and then he goes the other way and he's like shorting, and he should have made the money here from shorting this, and then slowly lost money as it goes up. Like July wasn't even, you know, it should have been June. So weird. That's so weird. Everything's like a month out from what I expected to see. I was hoping to show you guys a really nice correlation, but it doesn't exist, so I can't. That's really funny. I don't think he did get that emotional. Like he's a really calculated guy, is Tom. He knows his stuff. I do think that he's probably held onto a lot of positions he shouldn't have. But he is very, very well diversified. If you look at his like percentage of buying positions to selling positions, they're pretty spread. And he's got a lot of buying positions in cryptos as well. Let's see what his biggest. So okay, so platinum is his big killer by the looks of it, and gold. Precious metals, they're not a store of value anymore. They're really not. Look at that. All three of them have performed terribly. I wonder how much leverage he's using. Looks like an average of like 2.5 times. There's quite a lot of 5 times, quite a few 2 times. Is getting a job at Game recommended? Absolutely not. I've been I've been tempted to write about Game for a while, but I've been putting it off. But let's just say no. Scrolling up, I know I've got some questions to answer as well. They are in my scope of vision, but I'm just going to kind of read through the chat a bit more. What was the other thing we were going to talk about? We were talking about Mr. Thor and someone else, but I can't remember who the other. Oh, Wesley. Yeah, see, Wesley took a different decision. Wes did something that everyone at the time criticized him for and was quite risky. And his decision was to get out of all cryptos in February. And if you look at his portfolio now, he has got some crypto again. I think he's got some Bitcoin. Yeah, so he's got some Bitcoin. He's got a bit of Ripple, bit of Ethereum, bit of Dash, bit of Neo. Nothing else, I don't think. No EOS, so he's missing out. He's missing out. But he basically cut his crypto holdings massively. He was sitting at like 25, 30% of his portfolio in crypto, and now he's sitting at, maybe like 7 or 8%. So that was a big decision by Wes. And that paid off really well because you can see that he's done okay at trading the markets, and he's basically recovered from the losses that he had in February when that happened, and he is still holding some pretty red crypto positions as well. So it's kind of cool to see. When Bitcoin new all-time high next year, make a guess. I think it'll be like, I don't know. There's always a rally towards Christmas normally in crypto, but I don't know if that's going to happen this year. Or like if it's going to be a big rally. I don't think it's going to be a big rally. Like I don't think it will surpass all-time high in that rally. I don't think. But I would probably peg it at like, as a result of that, I would expect it to be in like a second wave. And if it's a second wave on like a daily chart, I'm trying to think like maybe like March or something. April for new all-time high. Yeah, I think April, March. It's not that Santa's not coming, Rick. Santa's still coming, but he's just delivering you lots and lots of coal. No, that's not true. Cryptos are going to recover a bit this year. Like I'm absolutely like, I wouldn't say that I'm certain, but it seems more and more likely, like increasingly likely, looking at the charts. So like here's my crypto screen. And we've got Bitcoin up here, a 1-day chart on Coinbase, and this arrow over here that you can see, this trend line arrow that I drew. I actually drew that while the BBC were at my house, and at the time, this was the active candle. I think it might have been that one. So it was like one of these candles around here was the active candle, and I literally just drew this arrow exactly as it is. I haven't changed it at all. And I was like, nope, I've decided. I think we've bottomed. I'm pretty sure we're going to go up to like back up to like 8K over the next month or two. And so far we have, and I'm not going to lie, I was kind of surprised by it. I didn't take any trading actions off it because it was literally just me drawing a line. There was really very little TA that went behind it. Like I did look at like RSI and MACDs, and like I looked at these moving averages, and I looked at this as well. Obviously, my favorite indicator, the parabolic SAR. And I looked at all of these things and I was like, nope, I've decided. I think we're going to go up. We're going to hit that resistance level up here, which is the same as where the moving average is for the 50 moving average. If we beat that, we're sorted. And we're going to go up to like 8K, where we will hit this moving average. Because by the time we get there, this moving average will have come down to about here. That's my theory. And then we're either going to bounce back down or break up. And if we break up, good news, everyone's happy. Seem like a speed cuber. I'm not sure what that is. I think that's very quick Rubik's Cube solving. No, I'm not, but I do appreciate people that can do it. And I did used to know like the techniques for how to cycle through and stuff on Rubik's cubes, but that was a long time ago, and I've forgotten all of it. But anyway, yeah. So I think cryptos are looking okay, and I think that we will see a rally up to like this, either the 9K or the 10K level. I think the 10K is actually quite likely before Christmas potentially, like here. It really depends what happens when we get to this point. If we get to this point, if we get up here, I'm going to draw a little circle around it because it's an important area. Where's my paintbrush? What color should we use? It's important, so I feel like we should use an important looking color. Like, what's an important color? Red. Oh, purple. Purple's like a royal, regal, important color. So when we get here, that is like make or break. We either break down and we head down to this level, down here. Wow, my chart is really laggy. What is going on? Why is my chart so laggy? I don't know what's going on with it. I really don't. What have I got open? Nothing. No, not really. A few white papers. Why is it so laggy? Weird. Anyway. Or we very slowly probably bounce between this range and then head up. I'm not going to draw the arrows because for some reason it's really laggy. Why is it so laggy? Jesse, did you melt my PC when you were fixing it? Nah, I doubt it. It's got so much RAM that it doesn't matter. Or it shouldn't matter. It's got 32 gigs of RAM. Like, I mean, it's basically a small hard drive. Okay. So yeah, anyway. No, I don't have a VPN running at the moment. In fact, honestly, I haven't used my VPN in ages. I should probably start again. But some mining in the background. I don't think so. I think I would have noticed. I may check for that later, just in case. So yeah, my thoughts on crypto are actually pretty bullish. I think we're near bottom. The only thing that keeps scaring me a little bit, thinking that we could go lower, is that I'll switch back to this screen. I'll go to coinlib.io. Coinlib.io. Good website. Better than CoinMarketCap. You should all use it. Oh, look at that. Beautiful. Oh, yes, IOTA. Oh, yes. Yes, indeed. Last 7 days, that is. But yeah, so I come on here, and let's just kind of scroll down. And what we're going to do is we're going to play a game of Find the Shitcoins. And basically, if there's any shitcoins still in the top 100, in my opinion, there is, or still in the top 50, maybe not top 100, but top 50, then in my opinion, this market needs to go further down, like realistically, because it should be killing off these bad projects. And like so far, we're scrolling, and like debatably, Tron is a bit shitty, and there's a few others that are debatably a bit shitty. But the first real shitcoin we get to is Bitcoin Gold. So Bitcoin Gold is 29th. Now that should die because it's a terrible project. It's pointless. It's a pre-mine scam. But it's also a fork of Bitcoin, so we can kind of let that off because that's likely to take a long time to die because it's a fork of Bitcoin and people don't even know they own it, so they can't sell it. So there's there's less selling pressure. We keep going. Digibyte I've never been a big fan of, but it's very good, very popular for mining, so I'm kind of okay with that living. You know what? It is looking a lot healthier though. Okay, so here's the first one, Verge. Verge is still in 41st place. That project, total garbage, needs to die. Bitcoin Diamond, another Bitcoin fork. This one looks like it's going to be out the top 50 soon anyway, regardless. You know what? It's nowhere near as bad as I thought it would be. There's basically no shitcoins left in the top 50. No, like, proper shitcoins. Like, there are some debatably good or bad projects, but they're real projects with real teams that are actually doing things. Honestly, this is kind of like a revelation, to be honest. This is definitely ordered by market cap, isn't it? It is, yeah. It's making sure it wasn't ordered by volume or something. That's surprised. I was not expecting this. Bottom confirmed. Well, I don't know about that. Look, I did just say that we've still got Verge up here. I mean, I'm not a big fan of Bytum either, but I do need to learn more about it. So I'm kind of giving them a pass until I've actually figured out what it is. Also, I'm not sure on this one. That's really surprising. I didn't expect for there to be not that many shitcoins up here. That's crazy. Where's Dentacoin gone? That's the question. I bet it's in 51st place. Guaranteed. Okay, it wasn't. Okay, we're starting to get into some slightly shittier coins now. What the fuck is that? You got a lot of the exchange coins, KuCoin, Huobi token. There's Dentacoin, 64th. So it would be nice to see this top 100 kind of like cleared of shitcoins as well. Like Loopring should not be below Dentacoin. Like this is a real project with real hard work going on. There's a lot of stuff still in here that's pretty bad. Powerledge is still up here. That's an okay project. Bancor, which in theory is an okay project, but in reality they have quite a lot of problems, it appears. Monacoin, that's pretty much junk. Bitcoin Private. So yeah, there's still a lot of junk stuff up here ahead of things that are still good, like ARC, for example, and AELF, or ELF as like the ticker. So there's a bunch of good projects still below this that are not up in that top 100, and they should be. It's nice to see shitcoins like this fucking dying though, because oh god, what a scam! Like Pivex should not be outside the top 100. There's no way. BitConnect is 103rd still. What the fuck? You know? But if you look at these market caps, they're so much more realistic for a startup now. Like you're actually getting into the realms of things being realistic again for the first time in a very long time. Like we're here down in like the top like 150 to 200, and Poet, which is a great crypto project, has got a market cap of 24 million, which is a bargain, and you should all go buy it. This is not investment advice. But yeah, so you can see what I mean though. Like there's still a lot of shit up here, but at least these valuations aren't stupid anymore. Like it's not that uncommon to see startups that in theory have a big broad market to go and attack, and some cool USP and some nice backers, to see them valued at like 15, 20, 25 million. It's not that unreasonable. It's still unreasonable, but it's not as unreasonable as it used to be. The problem now is that there's still a bunch of them that are shit. But once the shit ones are gone, we're all good. We're good. Okay, that was a real rant, and I've ignored all of the chat. What VPN do you use, Jay? You never said in Discord the other day. Oh, I don't think I actually read that. I remember we were talking about VPNs, but I don't remember seeing a question. I use NordVPN. Paid for in Bitcoin. Yeah, I use NordVPN. Jay blew his own mind. Yeah, sorry about that. XRP greater than Dash. Not very sure about that. What has changed your opinion, about Dash? What is the reason for the poor performance of Dash? And do you expect it to come back to an all-time high? Good question. Let's head over onto the DashPay Reddit, because Doge. Is that Dogecoin? That Dogecoin. What? When was that? Just now?
Yeah, within the last hour.
Let me change my chart. I'll show you guys. Jesse was looking at a chart, and I thought it was the Dogecoin chart because that was posted earlier by someone. No, there's nothing exciting.
No, I think it's just with that happening, fucked a lot.
Yeah. It's just some low exchange volume or whatever. Okay, that was unexciting. Let's go back over here. What was I talking about? I've totally forgotten. Totally forgotten. Dash. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to head to Dash Pay Reddit because there's been some like interesting news and stuff and developments, and there's a lot of drama in Dash at the moment as well. Cool. There we go. So here's Dash Pay because Dash was taken. So the first thing I want to kind of point out as like just a few kind of like interesting news pieces and trends that have been going on in Dash. So the first thing is obviously the Venezuela stuff. I don't think I really need to explain that. Everyone's seen what's going on there with Dash for a while now. Basically, it is the most used crypto in Venezuela by some margin. And you know, like adoption is booming there. The thing I really wanted to find is maybe this. I want to find there's a photo of the actual phone, which was cool. Yeah, so Crypto Mobile have basically created a phone for sale in Venezuela, which comes preloaded with I think it's 3 different cryptocurrency apps, including the Dash wallet, and like some sort of a market app, I think, and some sort of like a coin market cap type thing, if I remember right, to basically try and encourage people to use Dash from the get-go. You can buy this phone for like $50. It's just a normal Android phone, but it comes preloaded with a bunch of Dash stuff and $15 worth of Dash when you buy the phone, which is pretty cool. What a lot of people haven't noticed, which I noticed very quickly because, you know, I do at least some basic due diligence, is that actually if you find their Twitter for Crypto Mobile, you'll realize that they're a really fucking small company because they've got 350 followers. So everyone was getting really hype about this, and this was like big news for Dash community. But in reality, it's a really small partnership, and it's a tiny company with like 3 people working for it, I think, from what I can see. That's not to say that it's a bad project, and it's not to say it won't work, and it's not to say it's not good news. But I think the market has dramatically overhyped what this is. Like this company didn't even exist 6 months ago. And now they do, and they put Dash on your phone, which is great. So that was one of the things. Venezuela was the second thing. The third thing is the big drama that has been going on with the Dash DAO, basically, and calls for the CEO to leave. So for those of you that don't know, Evan Duffield? I think it's Evan Duffield, something like that. I feel like I need to Google it now to double check. He was the guy that was in charge of Dash originally and kind of like created it and, you know, looked after it for a long time. And then Ryan Taylor took over as the CEO of the Dash Core Group, which is basically a group of people that work full time on the Dash Core implementation of Dash. So the Dash Core software. And they're the people that have been working on Dash Evolution, which is very late. And currently, the Dash community is paying $500,000 per month to the Dash Core Group to develop the network. Yet he has missed every major deadline. So loads of people are criticizing and calling for him to be, you know, fired or whatever. But I don't know how much I agree with it. I think although he's been a bit slow at delivering up on his promises, he's you know, they're working on really difficult stuff, and they do have their monthly quarterly calls, the Dash like quarterly update calls, where they kind of go through progress and show things off. And it has been making progress, and it is a really, really difficult thing to do that's being built directly onto the blockchain, so you can add and remove friends and contacts to your list directly within the Dash blockchain, fully decentralized. Like it's a cool thing they're working on, but their marketing has just been terrible, and that right there is the core reason that Dash has suffered so badly. Is that the only good news that we're getting from Dash are tiny things like that crypt thing. So Dash, as a result, as we've seen, has you know been one of the worst sufferers during this drop. It also had one of the biggest rallies, so it's not too surprising that it fell down by, you know, a large amount. But you know, it's up there with Ripple as one of the biggest falls out of the major coins. Is it deserved? Yes and no. You know, like they need to be marketing their products better. They need to be hitting these deadlines because they're competing with every other cryptocurrency out there. In terms of the market that they're attacking, which is becoming cash, becoming a cryptocurrency that is acting as cash, like Bitcoin. After Bitcoin, I would say that they're winning. You know, they're second place. Maybe Monero is second place as well. But Dash is certainly up there as one of the most utilized for its like original purpose of being a form of payment and for being a currency. So when people have been claiming recently that Dash is going to die because they can't afford to play the core team and all these kind of things, it's complete bullshit. It's total fud. These are people that have hated on Dash for a long time. If you see Tony Vase talking about it, or you see Fluffy Pony talking about it, as much as I respect both of them, I think that they are both very, very heavily biased against Dash. And honestly, they don't understand. It's not that they don't understand it; they do understand it, but they're purposely misleading people about some of the things to do with Dash. So, yeah, I think Dash is still really strong. To be honest, I really think it's strong. That was a lot of rambling. Um, Once dead to coin is 101st, Bitcoin will hit 50k. Lol. What happens if two people copy each other on eToro? I'm not sure. I think the way it works is that it basically nullifies any positions that are open in yourself if you use copies. What's a more interesting question is what happens if you set someone to copy, you set person 1 to copy person 2, who copies person 3, who copies person 1, because then it's way harder for the system to detect that it shouldn't be doing that. I think. I don't know. Maybe that's what broke EOS. Maybe that's what actually broke EOS. Someone set like an infinite chain of copying for EOS. That's very funny. I like that 3 of us thought of that joke at the same time. Who knows? That could be the reason. Don't go and test it. Just because I want to keep my EOS positions. Bitcoin is moving up at the moment. It is moving up. Jesse, is the chat actually showing on my stream? It's not, is it? No. Did we break the chat? Yeah. What if I do this? Oh, 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 oh. Did that do anything? Cool.
Genuinely, I think Streamlabs up.
Yeah. Look dash. Link to mysterious image. Or what? How have you? I mean, first of all, you're on a 15-minute chart, so that's very weird because it's got a really long time scale. So how could you be on a 15-minute? What's going on here? What have you done? That's a nice gent. Any news on the eToro wallet? I was offered to beta test it a while ago. I know that it's being tested by some people from within eToro and some users from eToro. That's basically all I know. Last time I saw it, it looked pretty good. It looked pretty polished. It looks like it supports. I don't know this because again, I didn't bother to test it because I'm lazy. mainly because I'm lazy. But it looks good. and it looks like it supports every crypto that's on eToro, from what I can see. Which, by the way, just wanted to point something out. The fact that eToro added IOTA, wherever it is, that's a really big deal. Like, nobody seems to understand this because I guess nobody, for the most part, bothers actually playing around with all of these cryptocurrencies outside of an exchange and actually tries using them. But IOTA is a really, really, really different type of cryptocurrency, similar to Nano and Bytem and a few others. It's really quite different in terms of how it operates, and the wallets are really, really difficult to get to work. There are very few exchanges that actually offer IOTA. Until recently, there were basically just two, which was Binance and Bitfinex. Recently, it's gone up a bit, but the fact that they added that is kind of a big deal because it shows that they've really taken the time to make sure that they've got all of that stuff working, which is I don't know, it's kind of cool, I guess. Just kind of wanted to give. I feel like people don't give eToro credit for some things, but like adding a normal cryptocurrency, like adding Litecoin after you've got Bitcoin, very easy. Basically identical software, like incredibly easy to store, to look after, to know how to use, all of that kind of stuff. Adding IOTA, like I mean, there was a period in time where like basically everyone who ever made a wallet using IOTA's wallet had to go and remake it because they broke everything, and like the Tangle just continually fucks itself over and doesn't work. So like the fact that they've managed to actually get this to work and that they're storing this stuff on our behalf, and they actually have our crypto in IOTA, is kind of a big deal in terms of like, you know, development time and testing and security that's required by eToro to make that work. Maybe they just paid someone else to do it all. I don't know. But either way, it's still cool. Da, da, da. What else do we want to talk about? I'm very disappointed that no one wants to talk about AMD because my trading on AMD this fucking past week has been good. It's been very enjoyable. I've had a lot of fun trading it. These positions today that I opened like today and like yesterday weren't so good, but earlier in the week, oh, I was good. I shorted AMD perfectly at the top 4 times. I think it was 4 times. Very proud of myself. It was good. I enjoyed that. Made a lot of money on AMD this week. Look at all of these AMD positions, all green. Look at them all. In fact, just look at my trading this week. I've been fucking up. I've gone nuts this week. So we had a massive realized loss, which you'll see in the weekly update. We had a massive realized loss because of all of the EOS positions that closed. So you can see like all of them closing. And you're talking like, I don't know, over $1,000, over $1,000 in terms of my account of losses realized. But if we go on 7 days up here, you can see at the top that I've basically remade all of that in realized profits from a mixture of Square, Nvidia, AMD, a bit of Etsy, a bit of Wix. Pretty nuts. AMD, what is AMD? Please tell me more. AMD is awesome. And AMD has still got further to go. Oh, what? Have I been on the wrong screen all this time? Holy shit. Swear to God. Okay, look, here's my history. Look at all this. Look at all of this. All these green positions. Apart from that one, ignore that one. I put my hand over that one. Oh no, it doesn't work. You guys can see the screen. Oh no. I think it will. Yeah, I mean the portfolio has just kind of gone up today anyway. There aren't too many positions that I really wanted to change today. I'm still very cautious around Square because I mean, like, when's it going to stop? You know, like, when's it going to stop? It's at $90 now. It was at 60 like 2 weeks ago. Like, look at that. That is a fucking parabolic move. You know, I'm going to close another one. I'm going to close another one. Every time I do this, I'm just like, I need to close. I need to close them. Like, this is dangerously high. But they did announce some good news, so there is news behind it. But that's so high. That's so high. There you go. I just closed one. That's so high. And I have been closing them. And I've been doing little trades when I kind of see it on like the shorter term charts. Let's have a look around. Square. Here's Square. look how old all these lines are. Those were the days when $54 was the high. Oh wait, that was literally a few weeks ago. That was just before their earnings. So like, here's their earnings. Look at that drop on their earnings as well. And I warned everyone about that, and I should have bought more. Damn it, Jay. This was insane when this happened. This was insane. Like, my mind was exploding. Square was going down after an amazing earnings call. The same thing happened with Wix, and the same thing happened with Xe, and I was like, what the fuck? Oh, like, just how? How? Do people not read the fucking reports? Like, oh my god, Square is doing so much stuff. They're doing so much stuff everywhere. They're just fucking taking over. They're building their own ecosystem. They might as well just become their own cryptocurrency at this point. I mean, they just patented a level 2 layer network to be built on top of Bitcoin. Well, probably Bitcoin. They didn't say if it's Bitcoin or not. Like, these guys they're just doing so much. And their Cash App, I guarantee you, next quarter they'll have over 100 million in sales for cryptocurrency through their Cash App. Like, I mean, the growth there is phenomenal. 2 quarters ago, it didn't even exist. You couldn't even buy Bitcoin through Square. And now, like, they're shifting more of the stuff than like a lot of big players. They are a really, really good on ramp. And let's not forget, if you want to talk about cryptos actually being used for payments, Square is literally a payment network. That's what they do. And they do it very, very, very well. Like, there's a lot of places that use Square. Like, it's elegant, it's cheap, it works, it's fast, it's reliable. And the fact that they just patented that they're going to work on their own blockchain effectively that operates on top of other blockchains to operate as a payment network for them is really big news, because basically it says soon anywhere that you can go and spend Square, like that you can pay using Square, in theory you could also use cryptocurrency. Like, that's big. That's really big, and that's literally what caused this big rally. This big rally up here was caused by that. Like, they announced the news, I think, on this day. I think. But like, everyone's known it was coming. I said it was coming like 6 months ago when they first started. Like, in fact, even before they added cryptocurrency, after their earnings reports, I was talking about the fact that I expect them to get involved with crypto because they've got Jack as the CEO, and Jack loves Bitcoin. He literally loves Bitcoin. So, like, as much as we're insanely overvalued here, like, look at the RSI. That's fucking nuts. Let's go on a daily chart, because the daily chart will give us a better idea. Still nuts on there. What's that sitting at actually? So it's at like 80. So it's not like super high, but it's pretty fucking high. It could go further, which is why I'm still scared about selling all of it. In fact, I genuinely actually thought my RSI was set up to have this at 80, not at 70. Oh, it's at 75. Okay. Well, you're going to be at 80 now. And 25 seems too low, actually, for this to be useful. So there we go. We'll do that. Okay, so now we're bang on it. So we are basically overbought at this point. Like, there's no two ways about it. Like, as much as they're working on loads of cool stuff, like, this needs a correction, even if it's small. And it needs a correction on the daily candles, because it basically hasn't had that yet. And like, you look at the size of some of these other ones in the past, like, they're substantial. Am I going to short Square though? Absolutely fucking not. I'm just going to wait and buy the dip. What's my expectation from the tech giants in the long term? I'm not honestly. I think the tech giants are about to be disrupted by like a new wave. I think there's so much more potential in stuff like Wix, Etsy, Square, Shopify, AMD, and Nvidia. Like those are the tech giants in my head at this point. Like Nvidia is likely to start competing in a lot of fields soon. I mean, if you look at like in terms of new markets that are coming to fruition, autonomous cars, Nvidia owns that market. Full stop. Not Tesla, not BMW, not Intel, Nvidia. They fucking dominate that market. It's theirs. That market is as much in their control as the graphics card market is, and that's a big deal. So keeping money in Nvidia for the long term, for like the next 5 years, is a must because they're going to be one of the biggest companies in the world in 5 years' time. I have no doubts. Because let's also not forget that they're basically in AI as well, which is another big new field. And they're basically the market leader in that as well. Yeah, like apart from the quantum computing stuff, they are the market leader. Their tentacles are used by everyone that is doing AI stuff at the moment, be it Alibaba or Google or whoever. Everyone is using Nvidia's equipment for it. So, you know, Nvidia could well, I think, turn into that like dystopian company in the future that builds robots that kill everyone. They don't do robotics at the moment, but they did the AI bit. They could create the AI that turns evil, or they could at least enable the AI that turns evil. Yeah, I mean that's why my position in Nvidia is like decreased at the moment. I actually shorted it for a little bit yesterday, but I think I was a little bit too early. I did still manage to close it in the green, but I was very scared holding that short because I just wasn't sure if it was the right time for it or not. In hindsight, I made some money and I bought back in at a better price, but yeah, Nvidia's one to watch. AMD is definitely not to that level, but there's always room in these markets for a second player, and AMD is in a good position to become that second player because who else is actually working on graphic stuff? And graphic stuff is effectively what leads to that, especially the autonomy stuff. Not so much the AI with the tensor cores that Nvidia is using, but for graphics, AMD's up there, and they will be up there in the autonomous car market eventually. As long as they can keep funding that division, they'll be fine. They also currently dominate the console market, which is important as well. Yeah, it does need a correction. But I think what's important is to look at the companies that warrant their stock going up. So Square, for example, although we're very concerned because this price movement has been insane, we're also very aware that there is fundamental news driving this, which is their crypto stuff for the most part, and their Cash App as well. Both of which have been working pretty nicely for them. So there is fundamental news driving this move here. Also consider that it's just following the rest of the market to a certain point as well. So out of all of them, Square's actually one of the safer ones, but it is something that I trade heavily. So obviously it makes sense that I take some profits from that. But for something like Nvidia, which I actually have open up here, that's a bit more fragile. But again, if you look at Nvidia and you actually look at how much it's gone up from its previous high, and we measure that, so let's measure from like here to where we are today, 4.4%. That's not a big move. So again, Nvidia's not actually that overbought right now. It is overbought a little bit, perhaps, but not that overbought. The big one, actually, at the moment, is AMD, I think. AMD took a big move, and there isn't that much justifying it. Like, people should have known about this stuff that's caused this previously, because it's not new news. Like, it's not something no one was expecting. I mean, maybe some people weren't, but I was expecting them to do well. from Epic. I was expecting them to recover and become a profitable company, and for things to go well, and that Ryzen would be good. And all of those things happened, but they took a lot longer than I expected, which is why, unfortunately, I didn't capitalize on it anything like as much as I should have. I I actually sold off a bunch back around here, I think, at like $11 or something. I sold off a bunch near the start of the year, which in hindsight was one of the worst decisions of my life. But hey, that's how it goes. I still kept some, so it's all good. But if we look at this in comparison, and we measure from their previous all-time high here, and we actually look at the news for AMD, what have they announced? What news is there to this current price? They're still up 25.5% off what? Off a ratings upgrade? That's not enough. That's not enough to hold it up at that price. So that needs to come down from here. I thought it was going to happen during this drop, and I did short that drop, but it didn't. It still needs to happen at some point, though. It needs to come back down to like 22. 22 is a reasonable amount, because at 22, you're talking about like 10% increase. Which, when you consider that the entire market has moved up, and that AMD was undervalued for a really long time, and all this kind of stuff, it's kind of justifiable. So yeah, in fact, that's almost exactly 10%. So there's that. There's that, I guess. Are you just having a stare off with the cat? Okay. Okay, I will read some questions, because apparently there have been someone here for like an hour. Solar Edge was downgraded. What do you think about it in the future? Solar Edge is still in some trouble. They're also still in a position where they should be okay. I think First Solar is in a slightly stronger position than Solar Edge, because Solar Edge is much more consumer facing. And there is increasing competition there from companies like Huawei, for example. So I think Solar Edge is going to take a lot longer to recover. I mean, I think the entire solar market is in a bit of a downtrend for at least the next year, to be honest. Not so much a downtrend, but like they're gonna go flat. Like, these companies are not going to make big profits. They're not going to grow as companies, because there's just so much silicon around. Like, there's so many panels that are unsold because of the changes in regulations and stuff, both by the US and by China. So yeah, there's that. SolarEdge is an Israeli company. But yeah, like, I still like them as a company, but I did close a position earlier today. I'm still holding on to this rather horrible 2x leverage position. And we've got fees down here of like $6, which isn't too bad. But yeah, I didn't expect it to go as far down as it did. Certainly the effects of this have lasted longer than I expected. So I'm basically just hodling onto it for the moment. I've got a 2x leverage position in First Solar that's actually pretty close to break even. So, I'm keeping an eye on that. It's dropped a little bit over the past week, I think. First Solar, yeah. Okay, maybe not over the last week, but because I think 54 or something around there is where it's break even for me. So like around this level. I'm on the wrong screen. Around this level. Sorry, my bad. I need to stop doing that. It's because I've not streamed in a while. I'm like out of the flow. I'm out of the flow. So yeah, First Solar is a difficult one. It's a tough market, but it is a market that's still growing. The problem is that there's more competitors as well. So, yeah, I think another year or so should be fine. We should have got over the hurdles that exist. They're in a very strong position to survive. I certainly don't think they're going to go down much from where they are. Same with First Solar. But I wouldn't be expecting too much from them for a while. I remember that at the beginning of the most PI were expecting crash in stock market and a bull run for commodities. Seems that is not going to happen. What's your opinion about this? Yeah, I mean, commodities isn't really something that I deal in that much, but I was on board with that bandwagon in like February, and I was thinking the same thing. And I did dabble a bit in silver and gold and oil, uh, but it hasn't happened. It seems like all the money's going to the tech sector for some reason. Um, Even though the market was struggling, like the Nasdaq has just performed ridiculously this year. It's it's even worse than last year, I think, in terms of like it's performed even better than last year, I think. Let's have a look. Let's set this full screen, whack it on a weekly because that makes things easier. Okay, so here we go. So this is 2018 here to here, and 2017 is from over here. So I'm just going to move that along a bit so it's a bit easier. Let's measure them, because I think the Nasdaq has actually performed better this year so far than it did in all of 2018. So that's where it ended 2018. 31%, which, by the way, in itself was an insane year. If you zoom out, you can see how mad that is. Like compared to this year, for example, the Nasdaq had a great year. If we zoom back in again, and we'll measure this year to date, which is from here. So last year was 31%, and we're already at like 20% for this year. So I mean, it looks like it's going to continue. These were the big wobbles where everyone had their doubts and thought, you know what, this is coming to an end. But I don't think it's ready to be honest. Like at the end of the day, these tech companies, a lot of them are still growing and still making more money, and are only now actually even starting to tap into their key revenue streams. At the same time, we also have the stuff around like social media. And I think social media is a really, really at-risk platform. Like online advertising is a weird industry now, right? Because what's happened is we've had most of the money that used to advertise in newspapers and on TV and on billboards has moved into the internet. But the number of places they can spend that money has grown dramatically, and the number of eyeballs hitting that has grown dramatically. So what's happening is ad revenue is going down for basically everyone, and the platforms that affects the most are the social networks. So Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, these kind of things. And I think that's the thing that is concerning for me about the Nasdaq rally. Actually, is the potential for massive companies like Facebook actually to just stop growing. And we saw that last quarter in their earnings report, where they basically said, we're slashing our growth targets by a ridiculously large margin. And the stock crumbled as a result. Let's go find it, take a look. And I was shorting Facebook. And I did okay because I held on until their earnings. And I shorted this earnings right here. Unfortunately, I only did it with one position, and I didn't use any leverage. There were some people braver than me, but I had concerns also from the privacy stuff as well, because again, like the reason that they do all the privacy stuff and they sell your data is that they need another way of making money, because ads aren't going to cut it anymore. And so they have to they have to have an advantage, and their advantage was selling as much information about you as they can to the advertisers to give the advertisers a better deal and make the advertisers spend with them instead of with someone else. And with Facebook, obviously that backfired massively. But where do they go from here? How do they make this thing profitable? How do they make it competitive? I think what's likely to happen here is something that I've thought for a long time, pretty much since I discovered smart contracts on cryptocurrency, which is that someone's just going to build a decentralized social network and everyone's going to move to it, because you don't need advertisements, and it's something that's used by basically the entire globe. So why do we need to advertise on it? Why can't we just have a piece of infrastructure that we all pay a very small amount for, effectively, or contribute to in small ways to keep it running? And I think there's going to be a cryptocurrency coming that does that. And I think when it does, social networks are in even more trouble. And I think we'll start seeing those social networks being tested probably next year. Like we've already seen decentralized Twitter on EOS. We've seen Steam on Steam, I guess, competing with blogging websites. I think it's a matter of time before we see a crypto social network. And when we do, all of those social network stocks are in trouble. That being said, here I go again. That being said, I think Twitter is in the best position to survive it out of everyone. And in fact, the best position to potentially even grow even more as a result of it. And there's a few reasons for that. First of all, I'm trying to break back out of that. That's interesting. First of all, Twitter is run by the same CEO as Square, Jack Dorsey. And Jack is very big into crypto. And so if ever there's anyone that's going to kind of see this coming and try and position the company in a way that it can survive it and potentially even embrace it, it's going to be him. So that's point number one. Point number two is that already Twitter is far, far, far more lean in terms of its operation than most other platforms because it's not a complex platform. They don't have to look after Facebook groups and Facebook Live video and Facebook Messenger and Instagram and all these different things. There's just Twitter, and Twitter's a really fucking simple platform. At the end of the day, it's a really simple platform. So their overheads and how they operate as a company is going to be much lower. They're much less likely to be forced into positions of like trying to lay off staff or anything like that if things start to go badly. Next up, I think there is a trend among people moving away from kind of like in-depth social media, like deep social media, basically, like interactions that last a long time and that are like reading long-form things through social media. I think is becoming a lot less popular, and that's where I think Twitter is good. Twitter is just quick, short, brief, to the point. And there's not much shit on your feed. If you go on a Facebook feed, you see an awful lot of things that you don't like and you don't care about. And I think Twitter has kind of avoided that. Next up, of course, is the privacy stuff. Twitter is fully open. That in itself inherently goes hand in hand with how cryptocurrencies work. So I think that's a good thing. But on top of that, it means that they're much less likely to get into legal trouble if this privacy situation continues to evolve and get worse. So if people really want more and more and more privacy, Twitter has always been very upfront of we are an open thing, and if you tweet, everyone can see it, kind of thing. So like overall, I see a lot of bullish points in terms of like the future of Twitter and like the direction it can go in. So that's why I'm still holding quite a bit of Twitter. And I do think that it will surpass these previous highs. And who knows, maybe one day we can go back up to its price at IPO. I was someone that was anti-Twitter for a long time. But again, like, I started screaming and shouting about Twitter last year, which is basically when it was at the bottom. And of course, in hindsight, I wish I'd have held on to more of it and been more ballsy. But even at the beginning of the year, we had positions bought at like $15, and we rode most of this wave. So I'm pretty happy with how it's performed, and I think it's going to continue to do well despite its last earnings period that didn't go great. Again, that was primarily due to the privacy concerns and stuff. But as I said, I think Twitter are in a good position to weather that kind of stuff. That was a really long. I don't even know if anyone asked me a question about that. I think I just started talking about it. Activision SolarEdge were downgraded. Where do you see them? Well, I've answered SolarEdge already. Activision Blizzard, I don't think the downgrade is really that justified. I think if you look at the long term of what they're trying to build, and how they're going about it, they are a very, very safe company in terms of what they do. They don't take many risks, but when they do, they're big ones, and the upside is huge, and they invest in all the right places to make it work. And I think Overwatch League actually is a really good example of that for Blizzard recently. That's the only real risk they've taken recently, and I think it's paid off. And I think it's going to grow, and I think they are going to be at the forefront of making esports mainstream. And when that happens, purely from a merchandising perspective, they're going to do very, very, very well out of it. The model that they're building the league around as well, like they should make some good money out of it. So I think Activision is a good hold. The downside, of course, is how safe they are with the games. With the battle royale stuff going on at the moment, I don't think Call of Duty is really going to cut it with their blackout mode or whatever it's called. I don't think that's going to cut it. I don't think that's going to attract new users, and I think they are going to see less people playing than they used to. But overall, the impact of these battle royale games is that we're seeing more people get into gaming, so it's still good news for them in the long run. And these these phases come and go. Sometimes they've been at the front of these phases, and sometimes have not. Like they were at the forefront of the like card game kind of phase with Hearthstone, and they capitalized on that more than anyone else. But they weren't with this one. That's how it goes sometimes. But I think their core IP and their esports stuff is effectively what's going to keep them strong and push them higher. You've also got to remember, like, if we look at a chart for Activision, like they've basically been flat for like a year, maybe even more than a year. Let's have a look. So like, I mean, you can see this line here. Like we were at this same price, basically at the start of the year. So like it's gone up a bit, but compared to the wider market overall, it's really not gone up that much. If we go back to like let's go back a year from now, so like here roughly, and it's like 13% up, which is it's not bad. It's not bad, but I think they've got a lot more room to grow still. From listening to their earnings call, the number one concern by investors was battle royale games, but I think those investors don't understand gaming and have probably never played a game in their life by the sounds of it, because they just don't seem to understand that these trends come and go all the time in gaming, where it literally cycles from like FPS games are popular and racing games are popular and strategy games are popular and like card games are popular. Oh, and someone's done a twist on this thing, and now multiplayer strategy games are popular, also known as MOBAs. Like it's these like things cycle around all the time, and in 2 years' time, we will have transitioned away from this again. And Blizzard is in such a strong position; they already dominate most of those other fields. So, like, not at all concerned about their performance, to be honest. Earning shit in tournaments compared to sorry, I'm just like reading your like elaboration on it. Shit in esports tournaments compared to Battle Royale and Valve, who set up 25 million tournament. First things first with the Valve stuff. 24 million of that 25 million came from the fans. Like, I'm like, let's not put any two things around it. Like, let's not confuse the issue, right? Valve put up very little of that tournament prize money. The community made that prize money for Dota happen, and importantly, it's not a good thing at all, because in Dota, basically all of the prize money is from that one tournament. Name any other Dota tournament. You probably can't. There's like DAC and a few others, but you realistically, most people will not know any Dota tournament apart from the international. And that's because Valve are fucking terrible at esports strategy. You've got to think about where the money actually comes from in terms of revenue, right? They're making revenue because they're selling compendiums. Cool. You're ripping off the people that play your game. Good news for you. But not for the people that enjoy the game. Because those people want to see content week in, week out. And you look at Overwatch League, and it delivered that. Overwatch League had consistent good viewing figures on Twitch throughout the entire season, and this is just the first season. It's also got good prize money. It hasn't got prize money as good as TI, but it's still got good prize money. Like, their strategy is sustainable. Valve's is not. And actually, Valve as a company is in big trouble. Big, big trouble at the moment, I think. Wow. Okay, so like, let me elaborate on what I mean by ripping them off. Right, the fans are happy to support their esports prize pool, but how much of that money goes to the prize pool? It's not much. It's not much at all. Valve is taking that money. Valve is a company that has got a tiny, tiny number of staff, and they are stifling innovation in gaming. If you look at what they did, the last big innovation they did was the skin market, which was a brilliant innovation. Brilliant. Yeah, 25% goes to the pool. That's fuck all. It's ridiculous. It's insulting, to be honest. And they get away with it because Dota is a game that has had a community for over a decade now. I played Dota 1 on Warcraft 3 for a long time, so like I know Dota and I love Dota. Um, but realistically, if you look at how Valve is providing to that community, they're not. They've helped kill off other big successful Dota events because if you remember when Dota first came out, Dota 2 after the first international with the 1 million prize pool and at Gamescom and all the rest of it, there were loads of Dota events everywhere. You had the ESL 1 events, you had the events taking place over in like Russia and the Ukraine. Like there were like Star Ladder and all these kind of stuff. Like there were some really good events, and a lot of them had like $1-2 million prize money, and it gave fans something to engage with all season, and it kept the teams really strong. There was a big LAN circuit. Like Valve has literally just kind of cut off the supply of actual good content for that community by pushing all of the focus onto one event. And again, that would be fine if they then made like, I don't know, 3 or 4 other events throughout the year that had 3 or 4 million in prize money, for example. That's what's called um, a balanced economy, I guess, in esports. Like you look at any other sport, what other sport is there in the world where you have one tournament a year where all the prize money is and nothing else? Tennis? No. There's Wimbledon. There's the US Open at the moment. There's Australian Open. Golf? Nope. Ice hockey? No. Like there's loads of things. Football? What is there in football? You've got the FA Cup, you've got the Champions League, you've got the Premier League, the Bundesliga, and all these different countries. Like the World Cup every 4 years, the Euros, the African Cup, whatever it's called, can't remember what it's called. Like all of these other sports that are successful sports have this infrastructure and this constant flow of stuff with a small off season. And Blizzard is building that correctly. They've failed many times. They failed with StarCraft. I was a massive StarCraft fan, so I hated when they did that. But if you look at what they're doing with what Valve are doing with Dota, it's a joke, to be honest, and it's not sustainable. And it shouldn't be the example that people look to for how esports should be built. The events they do around the world, no one cares about because they're like 500,000 in prize money. The prize money is like 1/100th of what they could win almost. That's the problem. The problem isn't that stuff doesn't exist. The problem is that stuff doesn't get any limelight and no one cares about it. The fans don't care about it, and the players don't care about it. The teams don't care about it. The sponsors don't care about it. 3 million per major. Is it? For Dota? I don't think it's 3 million. Regardless, I genuinely don't think they're building it as well as they could be at all. Dota is just a Fortnite clone. Love it. I love that this has just turned into me arguing. And now Jesse's joined in. I think Valve as a company actually generally is in trouble though, because this is currently how they make most of their money, and they're not reinvesting it. They're really not reinvesting it very well at the moment. And you only need to look at Discord to see what's going to happen. Valve recently changed their entire chat interface as a reaction to Discord because Discord has taken such a massive swipe at their user base. And now that Discord is going to start putting games on there, I think Steam is in trouble. They need to act quickly if they want to survive. But that's aside from the esports stuff, I guess. Yeah, yeah. The scholarship stuff and things like that is great, but like you've got to look at how existing sports are structured and how this is kind of my point is if you look at how things are structured, Blizzard is building an ecosystem where you naturally have universities leading into their Overwatch infrastructure, leading into their Overwatch teams. The same thing happened with Riot and League of Legends. They built their system pretty sensibly as well. I don't think there is a single game out there that is more focused on a single esports event than Dota 2. I think it's currently the worst example of it, or the best example of it, I guess, depending how you see it. Wow, that was eventful. Um, I appreciate the comment about having fun with my 1K portfolio, though. You can see here that it's more than 1K. Just it is more than 1K. Things got a bit heated then. Like I just want to make it very clear to you that I am not at all attacking Dota, nor the community of Dota. But Valve could be doing a lot more for its players than it is. Like you look at the scene 2 years ago and you look at it now, and in terms of like actual player base and people interested in esports for that title, I don't think it's grown. Unfortunately, I don't think it's grown, and I think they could do a better job. And I think that Blizzard right now is doing a better job in uh, in how they're approaching Overwatch. Like, there's still some problems. I hate the fact that you have to go in and buy a team. I would much prefer that they actually gave the good teams of the time like the ability to just kind of build themselves a team house in a city and say we now represent the city instead of just bidding it off to massive, NFL, NBA uh, team owners, for example. But it's not the worst thing because it means that the infrastructure that they have is really good and really future proof. Well, what shall we talk about now? Shall we move on to another question? I do. Um, Someone asked, why do you have several small open positions for crypto instead of one big one? And the answer to that is very simple. It's so that I can ease out of positions. If this was crypto on like a normal crypto exchange, then what you can do is you can just kind of sell part of your position really easily. In fact, it's like that on most exchanges to a certain extent. But on eToro, it's structured as a position, and you can only close one position at a time. You can close all of this trade or none of this trade. That's it. It's like a binary option. So by setting myself up with multiple positions, I basically split my overall position into a lot of smaller positions so that I can ease in and out of positions much more fluidly and kind of average my way into trades and stuff and average my way out. That's basically why, for the most part. Infrastructure for a lot of NFL stadiums is paid for by the state. I mean, it'll probably end up that way with esports as well, to be honest. Like, I mean, you've got to think about it, right? If you are in the same way that you have companies bidding for where Tesla put their next factory because it brings a shitload of jobs, um, and a lot of content and a lot of tourism and things like that potentially. Not for that example, but you can see why a government would be interested in the same thing. I'm sure there are plenty of cities out there that are trying to influence Blizzard into making sure that their next team is from their city, because they want to, if they're a cool, trendy city with a university and a bunch of people, they're going to be like, no, we want a team. We want to be in this. We want to be someone that's represented. Like, I think ice hockey is a good example of it. If you go back through the history of ice hockey and you see the teams like moving from location to location to location to try and find somewhere that's got a fan base and somewhere that they are supported financially as well, that makes sense. Like, you wouldn't think an ice hockey team, in theory, would be from LA, but there is one from LA because there's a lot of people that live in LA that live in LA with a lot of money that want there to be a team. And that's why you see teams from China and Shanghai and stuff, because investors want to invest in it. It makes sense. And it'll be the same with all of esports eventually, where you will have esports stadiums that are dedicated to different esports events in different cities, major cities, because those cities have got a big audience for it, and because it can act as a draw for tourism and things like that. It's the same reason that countries pay to host the World Cup and the Olympics, although the Olympics actually is kind of a bad decision these days for the most part. But in theory, that's how it works. Greetings from Germany. Will you hold the reopened EOS positions until they break even the realized loss, or do you try converting into stocks? And yay, Overwatch. I plan on holding them until they have surpassed their previous losses, basically, until we've recouped those losses and then some. It's kind of weird to kind of structure it that way, because if you remember, I did open some positions when EOS first went onto eToro at like $8, and then I sold some at $12, and then I rebought like at $10. So like if you add up all of the trades over time on EOS, I don't think we're down by that much actually right now. I think we're down by a bit, certainly. But I think our break even is lower than what you potentially think our break even is from just looking at those trades. Because you will have forgotten about the ones before it potentially. But no, I think EOS has got a super bright future, and I'm going to hold on to a lot of it. To be honest, it's one of my biggest positions. It is the biggest position, in fact, in my own portfolio outside of eToro. And I plan on increasing it to become one of my biggest positions on eToro as well. I just think it's got so much legs. There's an insane amount going on in EOS at the moment. I can't even begin to describe all the stuff that's going on. Like, there was actually a little piece of news that came out today, which is that EOS Bet, which used to be ETHBet, which was an Ethereum betting smart contract, moved over to EOS, and now it has more transaction volume. It has more transactions going through that one application on top of EOS than all of Bitcoin combined. So, like, EOS is making some really fucking good progress, like really good progress, and people are actually using it. And I think it's got a long way to go and a lot of potential. So I hope that helps. Short Manchester United. A lot of exploitation of public funds. I'm not going to read that entire Guardian article right now, but it actually kind of sounds like quite an interesting topic, like aside from like trading and everything else. But thanks for linking it anyway, and where can I save that to so that I don't lose it? I'm going to open a notepad. I'm going to copy that link in there so I can read it later. Because that's kind of... It might be interesting. It might be boring. I don't know. But it's kind of an interesting... I think it's an interesting topic. There you go. It's in a notepad now. Okay, so more questions. I've got loads of questions still. What do you think of Sharp Traders Fund on eToro? Ooh, good question. I've not seen that yet. I'm going to imagine that Sharp Traders is a fund for traders on eToro who, let's see, this is with high Sharp ratio. Oh, Sharpie. You know, this is the first time I've seen it, so I don't know anything about it, to be honest. I mean, I guess that should be the end because I'm not going to come to a sensible conclusion within like the 3 minutes of looking at it on here. So for now, I don't really have an opinion. I'm afraid. Nice to see more copy funds, I guess, but I haven't looked at it. So, what do you think about it? Thinker 83. What do you think about it? Cool. Well, I'll wait for you to tell me what you think about it. I'm going to look at some other questions. Actually, I'm going to quickly look at my portfolio first because I want to make sure that I'm not missing anything that's going on. AMD seems to be settled at like $25. Squares come back down below 89 again. EOS is still going up. I feel like, you know what? Now's not a good time though, is it? I want another position in EOS. I'm pissed off with myself for closing one at not a great position earlier. I should have just kept that one open. Because now I'm rebuying a position that I used to have basically at a higher price because I was an idiot and I got rid of it when I shouldn't have. Like, we're right up against this 50 moving average. So I don't want to buy it this side of the 50. And even like the other side of it, I kind of don't want to buy it there either because then we've got this fucking trend line, this resistance level, literally right above it. So there's basically no gain because that's going to be all spread. Like let's say I buy it here. Yeah, like the spread gets me up to there. So I can't make any profit unless it breaks through both. So I might as well wait until here to buy it, which is $7. I've either got to wait until $7 or I've got to hope that it bounces back down. Which it might do. It might bounce off this 50. I don't think it will, though, because there's so much fucking good news in EOS. Maybe I should just trade based off the fundamentals. I know the fundamentals are strong. Don't give a fuck about the charts. Ignore them. Wait until we hit the 200. I could do that. It'd have to be a long-term trade. I'm not sure at the moment. I need to think about it more. Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, it's like again, like it's not like I closed the trade fucking down here somewhere. I closed it like here. Like I closed it. I think I closed it this morning. Actually, it might have been yesterday. I can't remember. Here it is. Yeah, I closed it at 579, and if we go to EOS now, you can see that the close price is 633. So that's substantial. Now, obviously, if I'm buying, I've got to pay the spread again. Let's look at an hourly chart. Now, I mean, the hourly chart is basically screaming at me not to buy right now. And the 4 hourly is okay, actually. FOMO, 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 FOMO. the FOMO is so tempting because I do fear missing out on EOS's massive, massive gains over the next many years. Very tempting. I've got spare cash, like a decent amount of spare cash. I can afford one more position. I'm just annoyed that I fucking closed that trade when I did. Let's do it. Fuck it. YOLO. YOLO. It's only one position. It's only 1% of my portfolio. Oh, fuck, I can't do 35 anymore. 350 anymore because I've gone up too much. Like, that's a bad thing. I've made too much money. Now my positions have to be bigger to be more than 1% of my portfolio. Fuck my life, right? Yeah, I've done it. I've done it. Unless it dips. Joy of missing out. That's amazing. I love that. Did I cool off the idea of adding some funds? Did I cool off? I mean, it's not so. It's not so much that I'm against adding funds, but it's difficult for copiers because a lot of a large number of my copiers, from what I can gather, which is difficult because I don't know how much each person is invested in me, but from what I can gather from comments and stuff, I have a few whales that are investing like 100K in me, and a lot of people that are investing between like $200 and $1,000, like a lot of people, and then like a nice healthy chunk in the middle that are like $5,000 or something. And so those people that are investing $200 by copying a copy fund, I'm basically ensuring that they make no money out of it because they won't be able to open all of those positions. Copying a copy fund or copying other traders in your portfolio basically means that people who copy you need to be copying you with a lot more money, like minimum $3,000, $4,000, just to get exposure to all of those positions. So that's like one of the main reasons I don't like it. Another reason I don't like it is because it's out of my control, and I like trusting myself, and I much prefer to let people make their own decisions on who else to copy. Like, I can give advice on who I like and who I don't like, but I think it's unfair of me to make that decision on other people's behalf. I feel like they should make that decision themselves. Las Flow. They don't pay popular investors into their accounts anymore. They stopped that a while ago, and there are a few people that still had some like lingering bits left over. Like I was one of them. Like where like there were like for some reason bits of payment still coming through our accounts that was adding funds to our account and leaving our copiers worse off as a result because they couldn't add the funds in time to copy the new positions. Blah blah blah. But that should all be fixed now because eToro forces everyone that hits elite to make a second portfolio entirely. In fact, I think they might even just do it across the board for everyone that's like, a red star now. Any PIs that you think are assholes? Asks Dorchan123. Yes, there are. There are two main ones that I can think of. I don't know if I really want to say their names because I don't want to just unnecessarily shit on someone because I think they're a bit of a dick. I mean, there's other ones out there. There's a lot of like blue stars that are complete twats, who really like they've yet to get to the point where they're managing millions of dollars of people's money, and so they don't understand risk management and the additional pressure that comes with trying to keep people's money safe, basically. They don't care. They just invest recklessly, and they're like, "Well, I'm better than you, and everyone should copy me." And it's like, well, your entire portfolio is in like three different things. So if one of those crashes, your copies are all fucked. But in terms of like big PIs, there are a couple. I think the only thing I'll say is that I have publicly I have publicly denounced them in the past, and they have publicly denounced me in the past, which led to me denouncing them. That's all I want to say. I don't want to like shit on people for no reason. Like, yeah, yeah. Watch the comments in the weekly updates if you want to find all the blue stars that are pricks, because the blue stars inevitably come in and they're like, "Oh, I'm so much better. Oh, you're a prick. Oh, you're ripping off your copiers." It's just silly. Nice pressure from the copiers. Well, no, I've been looking at that EOS position all morning, thinking, "Fuck, why don't I have more?" Same with the IOTA, but with IOTA, I was smart enough to just start buying in small positions as it was dropping, and I think it's come back up now a decent amount. Okay, it's gone up a bit. The spread on IOTA is massive. The spread on IOTA is like 6.5%. So this position's technically like done pretty well so far. This one's, done a little bit badly. That one was a mistake. I shouldn't have done that one. I'd literally set a buy order that was down at basically where the price is now for IOTA, and it went up. And after like 2 days, the order hadn't filled, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to buy some. So I just bought some, just because I wanted some exposure to it. But Jay says yeah every time he trades. Yellow. I just shout it. Shorting AMD yellow. Yes, that answers that question. Is EA stock price justified based on them delaying Battlefield an extra month? Surprised anyone would think this is a reason to sell. I saw that it dropped by like 6 or 7% or whatever it was. I didn't even know that Battlefield was delayed. I don't know if that's the reason. I would hope that investors are smarter than that. But at the same time, it could have an impact on their earnings report, depending on when that is and things like that. So I guess, it should have caused some sort of a swing because it's like the biggest title. I suppose it's probably not the biggest title anymore, is it? I guess FIFA and stuff like that is bigger. But it's one of their biggest titles. So I can understand it having an impact on the price, but yeah, like a 6% swing, if that's actually what it's based off, that's like the most stupid thing I've ever heard. But people used to do that all the time for things like Activision. Because they're scared of going head to head with COD, which they should be, because Battlefield games traditionally have been pretty bad in my opinion. Just my opinion though. Jay did upset me one single time. He had a sell on bar position and did not agree with it. After 1 week, Jay saying on stream, "Oh wow, I did not remember why this is here. Oops." I don't remember why I had that there. I genuinely don't. I don't remember how that happened. It could have been. It could have been bin lord. Like I could have just gone to the toilet and he's like, "I'm going to open a cell and fuck Jay up." I doubt it because I normally leave my PC locked and he doesn't know the password. I don't think. But Leanne does, so maybe Leanne collaborated. Who knows? Yeah, that's a good point. I've got bitcoins on this PC, so although they are also password protected, so. Dun, 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 dun. If he loses money, I'm out of a job. Yeah, no, I am very wary of things like keyloggers. Very wary. It's honestly holding cryptocurrency is petrifying. It's nowhere near fit for like normal people to be using yet. I'm amazed I haven't lost more, to be honest. I mean, I've lost a lot. If I count up the number of bitcoins I've lost over my time in crypto, I think I'm probably up to about 15 bitcoins now. That's a lot of bitcoins to lose. At the time, it wasn't so bad. The most recent one was the nano hack on the BitGrail exchange. That one hurt. That one hurt a lot. because I had a lot of Nano, and Nano is a great project, and I didn't buy much of it back either, and it's gone up since then, so I'm pretty sad about that. But hey, that's how it goes. I know you're not a fan of XRP, but what are your thoughts on the lawsuits and potential SEC ruling that has been pounding its price? First of all, I don't think that's the only thing that's pounding its price. I think the biggest reason that its price fell by much more than a lot of other cryptocurrencies is because it attracted a lot of retail investors that didn't actually know what it was. I vividly remember people that I never speak to reaching out to me because they knew that I was a crypto guy in November, December, like old friends and stuff, and people like that, and asking me about XRP. Everyone was asking me about XRP. Everyone. In November and December. Literally couldn't fucking walk down the street without someone being like, oh, what do you think about XRP? Because like one of my friends has got some and he thinks it's really good and the banks are going to use it. And they'd say it in exactly that voice. And I would turn to them and say, no, don't buy any. It's really fucking overvalued. Regardless of my thoughts on it, it's really fucking overvalued. And I said when it was like $3, this is really fucking overvalued and I'm going to short it. And to my detriment, I did a terrible job of that short. and I guess to my copier's detriment. But I was right. It was horrifically overvalued. It was so overhyped. I find the idea that someone's building a cryptocurrency specifically designed to be a settlement network and then marketing it to retail investors deeply unsettling. And I still have a lot of problems with it. And you can go on Twitter and see me arguing with XRP Trump and some other smart people from the Ripple community about it. And like I concede various points. Like I do think that it is reasonably decentralized from a node perspective now. But overall, I'm still not a fan, and I don't think the lawsuit stuff is actually playing as big a role as people think it is. The lawsuits specifically, people are a bit more worried about, and there's definitely some concern about, Ripple's a security. I mean, I think it is because they were basically Ripple is effectively the people making the products, and they have been for a very long time. That's only very recently started to change because they're now scared that they might be a security. But we've seen with Ethereum that if you change fast enough, the SEC will just let it go anyway. So to be honest, by the time it hits the point where it's potentially a big problem and they actually get sued or fucked over by it, it won't happen. And let's not forget that the SEC is going to be scared of doing it anyway, because all they do by declaring it a security is hurt the retail investors that invested in it. Right? They don't solve anything. They don't solve anything at all. They just hurt the people that invested in it, and their job is to protect those people. So I don't think they'll do it. Just because I don't think they will. I don't know. I've got some very mixed opinions on Ripple. I really do. I just don't like that a cryptocurrency is so obviously led by one party, and that party is very small and has basically complete control over the value of the coin because they own so much of it. And they, go to exchanges and give them a bunch, and they go to banks and give them a bunch to try and use it and stuff. And I can understand it strategically, but I don't agree with it. I think I don't know. I think it's a bit dodgy. Guess that's my thoughts on it. That's my thoughts on it. Thinker83, if you are still here, which you might not be, because you haven't said anything. Why do you think eToro does not send us our Bitcoin, ETH, and other cryptos accepted by Exodus straight in our Exodus wallet? Because they don't actually want you to remove it from their exchange, because that's how they make money. That's why they're building their own wallet, because their own wallet will show you that you can do that if you want to, but it's still in their wallet. It's still with them. It still means that you're more likely to keep using eToro for things. They want eToro genuinely do care about people learning about cryptocurrency and actually using it. Like Yoni is someone that's been in crypto for a really long time, and like the UK MD Iqbal, again, like he's like the first time he joined the company, and I met him, he knew a bit about cryptocurrency, but not that much, and he self-taught himself incredibly quickly and surrounded himself by experts in crypto. And like the sponsorship deals they've done with the Premier League recently, using real Bitcoin to sponsor football clubs and telling them, "Hey, this is now your Bitcoin. Do what you want. Spend it on a player if you want. Who cares?" Um, like it proves that they do actually genuinely care about crypto. They're not just here just to make money. Like they want a future where crypto is the thing. Um, but yeah, like the wallet will come, but obviously they don't want to purposely give people a reason to leave them. So it makes sense that they'd make their own wallet instead of say, "Here, use this other wallet and you can just move things straight away." I think the project with football teams is absolutely genius. I think it's a genius move. I think it's a really big deal as well. And honestly, the community hasn't talked about it enough. Because to me, it makes perfect sense, right? These deals take a long time to form, especially if you're doing it with multiple football clubs. And if you've been, let's say they spent 2 months, 3 months working on this deal with all of these football clubs to get them all to agree to take Bitcoin. During transfer season, like during the transfer window between seasons, I suspect that the original plan was to give these teams money and say spend it at one of the other teams, or use it to buy a player. And although it didn't happen, I think it will. I think next year we could well see a player purchased in cryptocurrency. And actually, there's a clue to that as well, because eToro sponsor an advertisement in a newspaper in the UK in London. And what they do is they price football players in their value in Bitcoin. Like that's all the advertisement is. It's like it just shows the price of players in Bitcoin. So I reckon they bought that advertisement thinking the deal was going to go through quicker than it did, or something. Maybe just the player deals fell through. I don't know. Hoping that a team would then pay for a player using Bitcoin that they could then put in the paper as well. That's a big conspiracy theory, but it makes sense, I think. But anyway, it's driving real world adoption. And, you give these teams a fucking Bitcoin wallet with a shitload of Bitcoin in it and tell them, hey, this is yours now. They're like, they're going to test it. They're going to do something with it. They're not just going to leave it there, because otherwise they wouldn't have taken the deal. And if that happens and they decide that they like it, maybe they look into a payment provider to start selling tickets for Bitcoin. Maybe you can go to a Tottenham Hotspurs game and pay in Bitcoin. Like, that's fucking huge. One of the biggest sports teams in the UK accepting Bitcoin to go to their sports matches. If you want adoption, that's a good way of doing it. I think it's really smart. I think it's really smart, because it's not going to be a small amount of money that they gave those teams either. You don't sponsor a team for like 25 quid or 1,000 or 10,000. I don't think. I think you're talking three figures, probably. Again, pure speculation, no idea, but I think it was a good move. Strange question, but what happens to our copy if you die? Well, you're in good hands, because Jesse lives with me, and if I died, I reckon him and Leanne between them would probably just close all the positions and let everyone know that I died. On a side note from that, I'm genuinely not sure. I guess it would be kind of cool to like chat to eToro and see if they can come up with some sort of a policy for it, like some sort of dead man switch where, like, I don't know, if we don't log into our account within a 30-day period, it just kind of assumes that we're dead and does something. Maybe, I don't know. There's ways of doing it, but like eToro are in pretty regular contact with the PIs, especially the Green Star PIs. Like, I think most weeks I communicate with them. Most weeks. Sometimes I can communicate them with, like, almost every day. So I think they would notice pretty quickly. And I think, honestly, the copiers would probably notice if I missed like 3 weekly update videos and didn't say anything on the platform at all. They'd be like, where is everyone? Jesse's watching some sort of a weird looking game show on Twitch, and I don't know what it is. Oh, okay. That'll probably be pretty funny.
Frank just gamble that he's never a real.
Right. So that answers that question. How many more have I got? Because I need to end the stream soon because it's getting late and I'm getting hungry. And my viewership is dwindling. Hasn't the question about dying come up before? Thought you were going to chat to them about it. I don't know actually. I think it might have come up before, and maybe I was planning to speak to them about it, but I don't think I ever did. But now that I've been reminded, I guess I'll chat to them about it at some point. I don't think it's pressing. I'm in reasonably good health. I know I don't look it, but either it's come up before. I've had one hell of a deja vu. That's also pretty plausible. Hey Jay, just here to say that I put some money on your eToro a year ago just to follow your trade because I don't have time to trade daily anymore. So thanks for your job. Cool, thanks. I guess I appreciate it. Let's see. So I've got a couple more questions left over. Same strange question. What happens to our copy if you die? I answered that. Do you still see there being a decent chance for Litecoin to die, in brackets, become useless? Yes, I do still see that as being a very real possibility. It just doesn't serve a purpose. It's just not different enough to anything else. I think you would really, really struggle to find anywhere that accepts Litecoin that doesn't accept another cryptocurrency, for example. Whereas there are a lot of examples of places that will accept Bitcoin as payment or Dash as payment and nothing else. Like a lot of examples. I think that's the big fundamental difference between Litecoin and Dash. And you look at how they're built and how they're designed, and Dash's infrastructure, for example, is totally different to Litecoin and to Bitcoin. But Litecoin is basically the same as Bitcoin. It's basically the same. And I think it's very telling that Charlie sold all of his shares. And if you go on his Twitter, he tweets about Bitcoin more than he does Litecoin. And I think it's because he's realized that just saying, oh, it's silver and Bitcoin's gold doesn't work. People are smarter than that. It's not fucking silver. It's the same as Bitcoin, but with faster block times and more supply. That's it. That's literally that's the difference. So yeah, I I was really on the fence about it for a while. I thought maybe with like Lightning Network and things like that, it can survive. But what I realized eventually is that I was just making excuses for it. And I was just being biased because it had been around a long time, and I thought, I like Charlie and I like the Litecoin community. They're fun. But in reality, no, it doesn't serve a purpose, and it's going to die at some point. I'm like pretty sure of it. So that's why I removed all my positions in it. I'm like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm out. I don't want to risk it anymore. It will probably have some nice boom moments. It could take a really long time to die, but eventually it will die. So I think it's just risky to hold money in it, to be honest. Hi Jay, have you seen any interest in pot stocks? Have you any interest in pot stocks? I really like the idea of investing in the weed stocks, generally, because I think it's a big growth market, and I think the world is, a tipping point is about to change and make it legal broadly everywhere in the Western world. But I don't know enough about it, to be honest. I don't think I'd be able to trade it very well. So, as much as I think it is a good like value investment, I think probably a better off. Like it's not something that I would want to trade actively if I was doing it. I'd just kind of invest for the long term for like, I don't know, 3 or 4 years, for example. And there's not really much point in me doing that. You guys can do it on your own. You don't really need me to do that for you, I guess. Okay, good, because I got rid of all my Litecoin YOLO. Yeah, it is a big growth market. I really, Chelston, I'm so fucking happy that you joined this community. You're so funny. Like I'm not allowed to tell you this because it's like a parent saying you've got a favorite, but you're definitely Jesse's favorite on Discord because you're very funny. See, confirmed. Last question. Are you worried about the organization and constitution of EOS? I am worried about the constitution. It needs a lot of work. I'm not worried about the organization overall. I think that the problem with EOS is that there's a lot of room for collusion and stuff, and it's the number one problem I had with it when it started is the idea that one EOS token is one vote, which means money is power, and I disagree with that just ideologically for everything. Everyone should have the right to have a say on how something works as long as they are at least somewhat involved in that system. And just because you're rich should not give you more power than someone else. And I think that actually is still the biggest problem with EOS. But I think regardless of that, EOS will continue to grow and be successful and hopefully, eventually, maybe, possibly, actually just change so that it's not like that anymore. Which would be really nice. I mean, if it was me, I would have set it up with entirely different tokens for voting that are always tied to your account that you can't give to anyone else and that have no monetary value. They're just voting value. And as long as you have balance in your EOS wallet, you have the ability to vote, regardless of what that balance is. That's what I think. But it hasn't happened. I mean, there's problems with that method as well. But overall, I think you look at EOS's progress over the past few months since it's launched, and I genuinely I think it's progressed faster than any other crypto has during that same time period. So I'm super excited about it, and I took a big risk by putting most of my own portfolio into EOS, and I don't regret it. I've lost some money against Bitcoin, but I don't regret it because I look at what's going on, and I'm adamant that it's going to do well. So that's that. I think that's the end of the stream, guys, because I've run out of questions. There appears to be very little moving around in the markets. To be honest, it's a Friday, so normally we see a bit of a sell-off on Fridays. Square has gone down a bit actually. I might reopen one of those positions. Closed at 88.95, so I can rebuy that cheaper at the moment. I'm not sure if it's really enough to do it. Yeah, it is. Fuck it. I like it. I like owning Square because, as I said, I think it's got a great long-term future. So I'm going to rebuy it. I know it's not a big gain, but it's still a gain. And it's Friday, and you never know what's going to happen with the gap to Monday. So I'd rather just own a bit. What do you think the future of Ethereum is? Do you think the rise of EOS is a threat to the survival of EOS? I think you mean Ethereum. Survival of Ethereum, yeah. Yes. In short, yes. I think it's a real threat. And I said that at the time. And I kind of only half believed it. And Liam Davies, who's been a massive Ethereum fan, I think has come around to EOS recently from chatting to me more. And chatting to the community on my Discord more. He's come around to it. But I think there's proof already in that, ETH Dice, ETH Roll, ETH Bet, a bunch of different projects that I can't remember the name of have moved from Ethereum to EOS already. EOS has been out for 3 months, basically 3 months at this point. And already it's attracting major projects that have been under development for 2-3 years on Ethereum to come and join EOS instead. Read into that what you will, but I've used it even just honestly. If you don't have any, go and you have some actual crypto, go buy just one EOS and just put it in a wallet and test the voting and test exchanging it between a couple of wallets. It is so fast. It'll blow your mind. Everything just works. The infrastructure that has been built in that short time period, the wallets and stuff that have been built, and the tools EOS network monitor and things like that. Like, it's staggering what's been built in the time. Staggering. Like, EOS Wizards has got more features than CryptoKitties already, and it's existed for how long? Months, just months against CryptoKitties. To be fair, CryptoKitties has only existed for like a year now, but regardless, they're already ahead of them in terms of mechanics and how it works, and of course, it's a lot cheaper to use, so it's much more enjoyable. Breaking news: Vitalik Buterin moves to EOS. Squares are wonderful, so edgy. Have you read about Bitwat? I am planning to use it for my business in Eastern Europe to support mining with renewable energy. What do you think about it? Have you seen it? I've not seen it, I'm afraid, so I really couldn't comment. Yeah, the VC fund is big as well. Thinker, I did answer your questions, but you didn't reply, so I don't know if you saw it. But the VOD will be up, so I did answer all of your questions. The VOD will be up on YouTube later for you to rewatch, or on Twitch. So you can have a look and see the answers to your questions if you went AFK or something. Please explain EOS staking and how much you can make out of it. You shouldn't really be staking to make anything out of it. You should be staking if you want to use what you've got on the network, or just staking to protect what you've got on the network. The point of staking is to get CPU and network power, basically, that you can then use for applications. So applications can either be designed so that the application itself pays all of the pays for all of the network usage from the EOS network using their own staked EOS, or the client can do it. And I think in the short term, it's going to be mainly the apps doing it, but in the long term, the client is going to have to do it. So if you've got EOS and it's not staked, you should stake it. If you've got EOS and you think you're going to make money out of staking, you're wrong at the moment. You might be able to eventually, but at the moment, you're wrong. I hope that helps. Yeah, exactly. And like you can actually rent out your EOS for other people to use now, I think, but I've not tried it. So, and it's so early in EOS's life cycle, I wouldn't bother trying it. I don't think there's much point in experimenting in that kind of stuff quite yet, to be honest. I would wait until it's a bit more established. Cool. Well, that does it for today. I'm going to head off and get some food and watch Ultimate Beastmaster on Netflix because that show's amazing. Thanks for watching, everyone. I will be doing my video update again for you early next week, and hopefully, possibly, if Leanne stops making me go places on weekends, I can actually start streaming again more regularly, because this was enjoyable, and the market this week has been an absolute joy to trade. So hopefully, some good news for you all to have a look at on Monday when we do our report. And yes, you did miss it all, Chris. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I'll see you guys later.